Hey everybody, welcome to Fulfilled. I'm your host, Rebecca Sheehan. Today we've got a very special guest. John O'Leary is author of the #1 national best-selling book, On Fire, host of the Live Inspired podcast, and he's an inspirational speaker who's shared his message with millions of people in 49 states and dozens of countries. And now he's executive producer of the feature film Soul on Fire, which is about his journey and comes out in October. So what makes so many people gravitate towards John? Well, you'll soon find out in our conversation, but first and foremost, by all accounts, statistics, science, he's not supposed to be here. When John was 9 years old, he was in a fire and 100% of his body was burned. Zero chance that he'd make it. But incredibly, here he is. And instead of trying to shove such a horrific experience to the far recesses of his mind, he's constantly sharing his story, inspiring people to not only make the most of their lives, but to find and deepen their relationship with Jesus. So without further ado, John O'Leary, welcome to Fulfilled.
Rebecca, what a joy, man. I mean, I'm sitting here wondering who you're going to bring on, listening to this brag sheet, and I'm humbled that you just put the camera on me. So the folks who know me, we'll start here, who really know me are not impressed by me, but they are so impressed that God has used these ordinary folks around me to lift up a little boy with no chance at life and a man who struggles with confidence and self-worth from time to time and allow that story to get out there in a mighty way. So what makes this thing worthy is not the one sharing it. It's the one who authored it. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to walking with you on this podcast.
I love how you just exude that Christian humility.
I looked in the mirror today. Like I know me physically. I know my sins. I know my broken nature. So if you really know yourself, how could you be arrogant? And if you really know God, how could you not be filled with joy? And so I exude joy for what he's done, not me.
So I've alluded to the beginning of your story, but if you can just kind of take us back to when you were a boy, what happened the day of your accident, and were you a Christian at the time, or did that come later? Just talk about how faith played a role as well.
So at age 9, I grew up in the St. Louis, Missouri community, and I grew up in a Christian home. We were believers, and I've always found in life it's relatively easy to be a believer when it's sunny. You and I are recording this today. It's 74 degrees and sunny outside. What do you do when it storms? What do you do when the boat starts to rock? What do you do when the waves start to crawl over the sides of the edge? And that's what my family and I had to wrestle with beginning January 17th, 1987. I was involved in a gasoline explosion, burned on 100% of my body, as you alluded to, given no chance at all of survival, should not have survived. But I remember two things distinctly. The first was thinking my dad was going to be furious because I'm the one that triggered the explosion. I did it on accident, but I still did it. And so I knew I was guilty of that. And I remember distinctly my dad coming into the room and saying, "John, look at me when I'm talking to you." So like getting ready for the judgment. And then he goes, "I have never been so proud of anyone in my entire life. And my little fella, I'm just glad to be your dad." And then he said, "I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it." And so I have a picture of the prodigal father. It's a Rembrandt painting over to my side, right over here. And it's this picture of this old man bent down, putting his arms around this broken, sin-filled kid saying, "Come on, come home." It's scripturally solid. But I experienced that when I was 9. I experienced the love of a father. My dad's love, his mercy, his grace, when I was first burned, that first moment in hospital changed me. And so I told you there were two things I remember distinctly. After my father walked out, my mother walks in. She took my right hand in hers. She patted my bald head and she said, "I love you, baby. I love you. I don't have clothes on. The skin has all been burnt off. I'm dying." And I look up as a 9-year-old and I say, "Mom, will you knock it off with the love? Just knock it off. Am I going to die?"
Did you know your prognosis? Like, did you know that you had zero chance of survival, or were they keeping that from you?
They kept that from me. But I mean, gosh, man, I was on fire for more than a minute.
Wow.
Just for those of you who cook, next time you touch the pan, like that's a millisecond, because as soon as you feel it, you pull back. That's not even really a burn. A minute of being on fire, like my gosh. So I didn't know how devastating it was or what the recovery would be like or the prognosis. I just knew the way the doctors and nurses were whispering, this is real. And then I saw my own body, like it did not look like mine. This is real. And my mother takes my hand a little bit more firmly, pats my bald head and says, baby, do you want to die? It's your choice. It's not mine. And I looked up at my mom and I said, Mom, I don't want to die. I want to live. So she said, take the hand of Jesus. You walk the journey with him and you fight like you never fought before. Your daddy and I will be with you every step along the way. But do your part, John. Fight. And your earliest question was, what was your faith life like before the accident? And I went to a Christian school, and I remember about a week before this fire, we had to draw a picture of Jesus. He was on water. The boys were on the water in the boat, and there's one bearded guy kind of halfway up, halfway down, starting to sink like floundering. That's St. Peter, man.
Peter, of course.
As I'm coloring this, I remember thinking, dude, if I'm ever called out of that boat, I'm not going to cower. And I'm not
Wow.
going to sin. I'm going to go. So when my mom said, take the hand of Jesus, it wasn't like, well, I hope we get better. I hope this skin grafts take. I hope therapy's okay one day. Like, I knew in the deepest sense of knowing that I would not die.
So you learned from Peter and you kept your eyes on Jesus, clearly.
I did, man. But there have been parts in the hospital and subsequently when O'Leary has not kept his eyes on Jesus or been completely underwater. And I don't think that is unique to me.
Right. That goes for all of us.
I think we all go through these seasons, man, where like all of us, I have moments where I wrestle with faith. And yet when, back to your point, when my eyes are on Jesus, my life is good.
So I just listened to one of your podcast episodes about the shark attack and the boy who was attacked when he was close to your age.
Yeah.
I was sobbing the entire time.
Yeah.
One of the things you emphasized in your interview, or they emphasized, was the people placed along the way. If they weren't there, if the timing wasn't just such, then he would have died. So do you have people like that in your life, either when the accident happened or in the aftermath, that you feel were truly angels or put there for a reason?
So if you had asked me this when I'm coming home from the hospital, the answer would be no. And if you'd asked me this as a teenager, the answer would have been no, or in my 20s. And now you're asking it of this old 48-year-old dude in front of you. And the answer is so obviously yes. Like I look back on my life in awe at how God was brilliantly, perfectly on time, always, always, regardless of what we're even talking about, but specifically regarding the fire. My brother Jim was home when I blew up a can of gasoline in the garage, accidentally, but it happened. I got trapped in there for about a minute, came out of the garage, made my way into the front hall. Jim was 17. He was sleeping in the basement. He should have been at work. He comes up because the alarm did not go off, but now the smoke alarm has. He hears his brother screams. And the flames, Rebecca, are leaping off of me 3 feet in all directions.
Wow.
And this nobody, he's just a late teenager, picks up a rug, comes over to me, begins beating the flames with that little rug. Every time he swings down, the flames leap from me onto him. And my brother Jim kept swinging down into the flames, burning himself in the process, wrapping me in that rug, bringing me outside, throwing me on the ground, saving my life. He goes back into call 911. He chases my sisters and the dogs out of the house. While he's doing that, I have an 11-year-old sister named Amy. She's outside barefoot and it's starting to snow. And she comes over to me. I'm in the front yard. There's a messy situation. The house is on fire. Smoke's coming through the windows. And she just walks right over to me, puts her arms around me. You talk about like God's angels, man. This little girl just pulls me in and says, John, it's okay. Have faith and fight. The best is yet to come.
What wisdom coming out of an 11-year-old girl.
Right? I mean, none of this is pre-planned, but all of it is God ordained. Like you can't prep a child to speak like this. You can't prep a firefighter to act the way my brother did. You can't train up a parent well enough to say, now when the child says, will I die? I know you're going to want to say, no, you're not going to die. No, but instead, I want you to come back with a question. Do you want to? Because that's what Jesus would have done. Do you want to see? Do you want to live? Pick up your mat, move. I mean, so all of this is just spirit led. And the final angel I'll share from the front yard that day was my sister Susan. She hears that I want to die. Like I'm in the front yard. I'm in so much pain. It's just agony, both physical and emotional. And I say, I just want to die. Go and get a knife. I don't want to live. And this little girl goes into a burning house. She gets a cup of water, comes back outside, throws that first cup of water in my face. She wheels around, goes back into a burning house a second time, gets a second cup of water. And then she wheels and goes in a third time. There's a quote, I think it's from John, no greater love is there than this, than to be willing to lay it on one's life for one's friends. This little girl at age 7 goes into a home 3 times safely for 3 cups of water, growing each one on my face. I'm burned from my neck to my toes, 3rd degree, but not my face. And it is the doctor's wisdom, I think, that they said it's because of her actions that not only was your face saved, but your scalp, where they drew all my skin. You see my head today, man. That's my real hair up there. All the skin from my entire body came from my scalp, which she helped save.
Really?
So not only was she showing me love, she was changing my life through it.
So your house was on fire as well.
Yes.
So she literally is running into a burning home 3 times. That's incredible.
Well, I know we'll talk about it, but they recently shot this film called Soul on Fire about our life. And I know my story so well that I rarely get emotional about it. But what got me so emotional is they did not want to shoot the fire scene where like the camera's on the kid burning. Like that's ugly. No one wants to see that. So they made the camera the point of view of the child. So they have this camera running through the house. And then they show what I saw. And to see that again, not from my pained perspective, but seeing in the actress's eyes, what it's like to see your brother on fire. Because like I saw that in my sisters and we never really talked about it. To see my brother Jim come up from the steps, 37 years later when they're filming this, and see the actor pick up a rug and begin beating down the flames. And man, that was so hard, not only for me, but my siblings were there behind the cameras watching all this. And for them, like they don't think about it all the time. We try to like not be defined by that moment. And yet it was such a defining moment in our lives. And unlike so many tragedies, this tragedy drew us together. It forged us.
That's incredible. Now, I know Jack Buck played a big role in your life as well, the famed Cardinals radio broadcaster. Can you talk a little bit about how he got involved in your life and the impact that had?
Yeah, so I'm assuming some of your listeners and viewers may not know Jack Buck. Jack was a Hall of Fame broadcaster. He was the voice of the St. Louis Cardinals, but also the voice of national radio for baseball. Like big voice, big presence. And he was my boyhood hero. I loved him. I never met Jack Buck, but I listened to him every night. I got burned on January 17th, was expected to die that evening. And at a charity auction, Jack Buck had heard at his table, he's downtown in St. Louis, he had heard that a little boy was burned in St. Louis and was going to die. And the encouragement was, keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Eventually, Jack Buck leaves the party that night. This is just wild. It does not know me, does not know our family. It's not going to go on social media. But he leaves the party that night, goes out to a hospital in St. Louis County called Mercy. He walks into a burn center, asks about a little boy who got burned. They show him where to go. He gowns up, walks in, sits down. I'm laying in darkness. So my eyes are swollen shut, Rebecca. I can't see. But I can hear. And I hear the voice of Jack Buck say, kid, wake up. You are going to live. Keep fighting.
And then he visited you every day after that, right?
Yeah. And after being told there's no chance, first of all, when you're told that someone's dying, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Most of us, if we're being bold and generous, do like a hashtag thoughts and prayers, storm victims in Tupelo, and then we're done. Who in the world leaves what they're doing to go visit a stranger like that? Whoa. So that's epic. It's just such a remarkable story of faithfulness, of action, of service, of love. And in doing so, how it changes all people. Can you imagine being in pain all the time, but then a Hall of Fame radio announcer walks by you and says, "Keep fighting, kid," as he goes to visit another patient? The ripple effect of grace is eternal. Jack made a mighty difference in my life, undoubtedly, but also a mighty difference in the lives of everybody else on that floor.
As you said, he could have just kept you in your thoughts and prayers, or in his thoughts and prayers, rather. But yeah, to actually get up and do something about it, I think that's an inspiration for all of us. And didn't he find out about it through a chain of people? And I mean, he didn't know you at all.
He didn't know us at all. It's a long-winded answer, but my neighbor called a friend who called a girl named Colleen. Colleen called her dad, who was going to a charity auction that night. His name was Red Shandians. He was a Cardinals second baseman in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And Red Shandians sat at a table and just mentioned to those gathered, including his buddy Jack, that this little boy was burned terribly, was going to die. And so this game of phone connection is also, I think, an important part of the story. Like, you never know. I think Andrew in the Bible has one line: "Come and see." Like, that's it. Not like a great broadcaster. Come and see. And so you never know the work that you do and the words that you speak and the life that you lead, how it might influence one other. And then that life might influence one other. And then that life might be the one. So our job is to say yes to being used for good. And if we do that enough consistently, watch that ripple effect, because it's coming.
It's almost like every single aspect of your story is inspiring in a different way. It's so beautiful.
This is a story of what happens when we turn our life over to something bigger than ourselves. And we recognize, in spite of our position, our class, our wealth, our race, our creed, even whatever our background might be, our sinfulness, God has a way of using us for good. But you've got to be open to it. And then when
Yes.
that call comes, you've got to pick up your mat and go. In other words, I blew up a can of gasoline, and then the body of the church shows up. In the movie, the person who's doing the talking it's the real Colleen. So for those of you who
Really?
see the film, you'll hear a woman say, "He was burned terribly. Keep him in thoughts of prayers." And that's Colleen. So that's Red's daughter who's talking right there. To her side is Julie Buck, who is Jack's actual daughter. And in the middle is William H. Macy, who portrays Jack Buck. So like, these are the real people who are part of our story. But these are folks who heard an opportunity of doing something for someone else and then moved. And Jack heard this call. There were 8 others at that table. No one else got up with him. Right? So like, the idea is that, well, hear the same news stories. We'll all see the same tragedies. If you look at Jesus' ministry, it's almost always about the interruption. It's almost never like, and then on Saturday, he preached another beautiful.
That is so
Yeah.
true.
He's a rabbi. We Christians sometimes forget, like, Jesus is a rabbi. So the majority of his work would have been in temple. And yet the majority of what we celebrate was when he was going to the left and then gets called to the right. When he's going that direction and someone touches him in this one, it's almost all being bold enough and vulnerable enough and faithful enough to say yes to the interruptions.
That is such a powerful takeaway. So I do want to talk more about your movie, Soul on Fire, coming out in October. Who's in it and how closely does it follow your real story?
So William H. Macy, we mentioned his name, plays Jack Buck. He did a phenomenal job. There's a guy from like Big Fat Greek Wedding named John Corbett who plays my dad. Stephanie Shostak from Iron Man and The Devil Wears Prada and a bunch of other movies plays my mom. Joel Courtney from Jesus Revolution plays John O'Leary. Devon Franklin plays Nurse Roy, who helped save my life. Macy McLean plays my wife. She's beautiful. It's like all these actors came together around this story to speak life into it, which was so well done. They did an incredible job. But then your question might be, how close is it to being real? Well, they filmed the fire in the house where I was raised, in the house where my mom and dad still live. They filmed the homecoming at that same house. They filmed the scene where John is sad about his life later on, and his dad gives him this radical pep talk. And I mean, get ready to be punched in the gut in the best way on the screen porch where that talk actually happened. They filmed when John gets married to his wife in the church where John and his wife were married. They filmed the actress in the actual dress that my wife wore on our wedding day.
That is incredible.
This isn't just like kind of close. It's like the places where it happened, the people who were involved in the church. When you see it, two wild things about this. Everyone gathered in the church were gathered in that same church 21 years before that for the real wedding. So when you see all the extras, you're like, man, could they not find any young people in this? They're like, what? We're all older now. So like my parents' friends are older, my friends are older. So that's what you see when you look into the audience. You see the people who are actually there, which is awesome. But even more powerful, in the second row behind the actors where the grandparents hang out, you see my actual parents. So this beautiful couple who've been together 60 years now. You see my mom and dad, which is awesome on a million levels. But one of them is my dad has had Parkinson's disease for 30 years and was unable to stand for about 10. And when Sean McNamara, our director, yelled out the words, action, because this is when John's about to kiss his wife and, everyone stands up for that final blessing. My dad heard the word action and wills himself up on that pew, pulls himself up, 30 years of Parkinson's, and this warrior rising. And so that's a precious moment to me. And as you and I record this, my father passed away on May 30th this year.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Our dad's, he's in heaven. He's no longer in pain. He's finally been able to dance again and stand again and speak again. He's got his body back again. So that's awesome. But about a week and a half before he passed away, there was a client in St. Louis who wanted to have 3,000 folks go to the film to see it ahead of time. So they did. And I invited my dad and mom to go. So I sat in this theater with all these executives behind me, and my dad just held my hand the whole time.
I was going to ask if he got to see it before he passed. So it sounds like
he did. And he lost the ability to speak as he was getting sicker. And so I leaned over as people were clapping. I'm like, Dad, what do you think about your life story, man? What do you think? Did they do a good job? And my sweet dad whispered, what a gift. What a gift.
Oh.
And you could say, like, was that the first review of the film? And like, I don't think it was the film he was reviewing. I think partially, I think what that was almost this moment. When you've read, when you die, you have a quick review of your life. Jesus walks you through it all. And I think my dad, not long before he died, had this quick review. And it ends. I'm not going to tell you how it ends because you got to go see it because you will cry like a baby. But it ends in this moment where the son and his dad get to show people what real life looks like. And that is a gift, to recognize that even in the difficulty of Parkinson's disease and woundedness and brokenness and mistakenness, that the author of life still works. If you were to ask me what is one of your hopes as people leave the film, I hope they leave saying, what a gift. And they're not talking about my movie or my life.
That is so powerful. And yeah, can't wait to see the movie. Fun tie-in, you may recall, my son Jameson played a small role. He's an extra, technically. He plays your middle son, Patrick, right?
What do you mean small? I mean, first of all, there are no small roles.
Sorry, Patrick, you don't have the small role in your dad's life.
Patrick's birthday was last night. He's going to be furious when he finds out that his little body double played a small role in Daddy's life.
But I was there that day with Jameson when the actors were filming the scene on that porch.
Were you able to hear what was going on out there?
No, they kept us stage moms far away, but
Where?
that was a really special thing for him to be a part of.
Well, it was a blessing for us to have him in. So he plays Patrick, who is the most joyful kid, and little Jameson was just a little gift of joy, a little flash of light on that set. And so when they all watch the movie, the little guy who comes up to hug the guy playing me is Jameson. It's your son, but he's my little Patrick. And what I'm struggling with there is mistakes that I've made in the past. And so my wife is picking up on this. So she sends the kids outside to go play, and they're playing. But my dad is having this talk with me, a talk we really did have on that screen and porch about life. And what do you do with the brokenness? What do you do with your scars? And as you are hearing Jameson play in the background, pay close attention to what my dad is saying, not just to his son, John, but to you.
So let's talk about the brokenness, that powerful conversation. What caused you all to market this as a faith-based film? I know it's under Sony Pictures Affirm Films label, which is Christian content.
Yeah. So even today, like I speak in the corporate realm. I'm a leadership speaker. All the books that I write are leadership books, if you will. And question number 13 on my survey, that when clients fill it out, is what topics do you want John to stay away from? Guess what the two always are?
Faith.
And politics. So they give me a microphone and they tell me to stay away from faith and politics, and I can stay away from politics gladly. But faith, it's ingrained in my body. Like, how do you stay away from that? And so I don't view my job as like outwardly evangelizing from the stage, but undoubtedly, this is a faith story that I share with secular corporate clients. And so the film, it will draw people in to say, I want to come alive again in my walk in life. And then they will leave, I think, not only clear on what that looks like in a secular sense, but on the faithful sense that drives it all. It's an opportunity for Christians, for instance, to bring non-believers to say, or just check out this film. And I heard it's just this crazy story about a kid and baseball and family. He ends up with a girl at the end. Like, we should check it out, man. Become a big motivational speaker. I heard it's awesome. Cool. Go. And then on the way home, talk about what you're actually watching. Because it's not a baseball film, and it's not a fire film, and it is indeed, I think, a love film, but it's not like a dating love story or even a family love story. It's a God love story. It's how God loves each of us in such a mighty way that he chooses to use us in mighty ways for his perfect purposes. And the last person to recognize that in the movie is a guy named John O'Leary. Everyone else saw it so clearly, and that's why they did what they did. And yet, sometimes we're the last one to recognize the miracle of our life. At least I am. And so I think our secular friends will connect with this. I think it gives us an opportunity to share scripture and the word within if you want. At the very least, it's a deeply inspirational movie about fighting for things that matter bigger than yourself. That's cool. But it's a movie about community. And right now, can you think of a time where there's been greater cynicism and negativity and pessimism? And then Hollywood keeps flashing up. So let's give them hope. We'll put in front of them Superman. Awesome. Then we'll give them another lightsaber movie. Then we'll give them a talking squirrel movie where they curse and like all these examples of heroes. And then they come forward with this film, which is example after example of ordinary heroes who changed the world for good. And I don't think the faith market has that corner. I think the marketplace as a whole needs to recognize Hollywood's a democracy. Man, let's start voting again with our dollars to say, this is what we want more of. We want
Amen.
movies that draw us together and allow us to have conversations around things that actually matter. So we talked in that movie about faith. We talked in that movie about scars and brokenness, about what do you do with sinfulness? What do you do with the things you've done in the past that you regret? How do you redeem that? What do you do with the one life that you've got? How do you make a difference with the breath that you've been gifted with? Are miracles still possible? Is love still possible at this late stage? All these things that are, man, they're just core to life. So I hope the film does well for a million reasons. But one little reason is when it does well, Hollywood will say, maybe we won't do the 37th rerun of that show, but instead we'll put forward another true story of a miracle that took place in our world and how God is still working.
I love that. And so it comes out in theaters in October. Will it be streaming as well?
So it won't be streaming at first. So, I encourage your listeners and viewers, like, check it out at the theater. It comes out October 10th. If you are listening to this even before, then you can get your tickets ahead of time. You can reserve entire theaters for like friends or classmates or your church.
Love it.
Go in, laugh and cry, feel renewed, and feel more certain than ever that your best days are in front of you.
We talk about all of this hope and inspiration that's been a string throughout your life. Is there any scripture in particular, any Bible verses that you identify with most or that have inspired you the most along the way?
I mean, what I try to live my life by now is one from Micah: seek justice, love mercy, walk humbly with God. People often ask me, like, how do you want to be remembered? You know, executive producer, actor. Like, no, are you joking? And even like dad, like even those titles begin to fade after time. I My first job is husband, son, dad, like for sure. But man, with my one life, I want to see justice, love, mercy, walk humbly with God. And if I do that sincerely, I will be an awesome spouse. I will love her so well. I'll date her still. I'll be an awesome dad to her kids, which is awesome. I'll raise them well. I'll be a better son to my dad before he goes home to heaven. I'll be a better son to my mom as she grieves her husband. I'll be a better friend. I'll be a better podcast interview. Like I'll do that stuff when I seek justice, love, mercy, walk humbly with God. So that's one scripture that just moves me. My mom has JER29 on her license plate, which is so cool. Her car is old. Her license plate has hit like 50 million curbs as it's gone through life. So like this thing is like warped. It should not be legal, man. You can barely read the JER29. But for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. She put that on her car years and years ago when she was on top of the world. And she kept it on her car after a kid got burned. After
Wow.
we dealt with some mental illness in our family. After her husband gets Parkinson's disease and loses his job, and that's why we sold the same darn car. As she takes him to appointment to appointment to appointment, she kept it on the car. As she runs out for Depends at night because they ran out, she has this on her car, JER29. As she drives up eventually to the funeral home and to the church service. And the coolest thing, and then I'll be quiet, but the coolest thing, JER29, my dad went about a decade without speaking. I mean, he barely whispered out what a gift, but he went about a decade without speaking. So, like, how many people would go to a 81-year-old's funeral? You know, I don't know. Especially when they haven't, in quotes, done anything in their life in a long time. They have done nothing for 30 years. Well, more than 1,000 people came to my dad's funeral. We live in a society that is so focused on the doing. And my dad had decades to be present, to be a great listener, to reflect, to smile, to radiate joy, to love God. And in doing that, to love the one in front of him. So though most of the folks gathered that day had not heard Dad's voice in a long time, they gathered one more time to celebrate that life. But my mom pulled up to that service, JER29. She's a woman who's guided by faith, certain that in spite of the plight that we are in, and who's not, that her best is in front of her still.
What a beautiful story. Her story with that license plate, but your story in general. And obviously, not just you, but how you're at the center of all of these incredible people. And it is so evident that the Lord is working through your story. And it's so amazing that you've inspired so many people with it. So
But
thank you, John O'Leary, for all you've done.
I got to say,
And
Lauren, I want to cut you off. He is working through our story. Because you asked me the question, did you see God's angels in your life when you were a kid? And the answer is no. It's only recently through hindsight and greater faithfulness that I recognize so clearly, oh gosh, he was all over it. And if that's true for an insecure burn survivor, oh, Rebecca, what about you? What about your son? What about your friends? What about your listeners and viewers? So he's working through our story. And if you guys want to like just learn more about your son in the movie and our story, the website is Soul on Fire Movie. So go there. You'll learn about this little boy who plays my son, Patrick. Soul on Fire
he
Movie.
wasn't the big deal in the movie. I promise. It's all
He's
you.
a huge deal. You'll hear his laughter. You'll hear joy, which is the call for your life.
I love that. Well, yes, we will all go see the movie, soulonfire.com,
Soul on Fire Movie.
soulonfiremovie.com.
Don't go to
And
soulonfire.com. You don't want to go to that's a horrible site. Go to soulonfiremovie.com.
and if people want to connect with you on social media or check out your podcast, where should they go?
So for that, probably go to my website. It's johnolearyinspires.com. johnolearyinspires.com. And we'll have social there. You can learn more about the podcast and the film. And starting October 10th-ish, we'll have a free link to, it's called Ignite Character. And it will unpack for you the characters in the film, the characteristic they most modeled, how it changed one person's life and what it means for you and yours. So to unpack those layers, it's a cool way to elevate the film experience. More than that, it's a cool way to live it in your life. So all that you can find at johnolearyinspires.com.
Well, John O'Leary, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that this has inspired our listeners to delve deeper into their faith and be closer to God and just live that out every day.
Rebecca, you're awesome. And you raised a mighty son who has taken Hollywood by storm.
Oh, I don't know about that.
So congratulations on that. And for now being part of our family and part of our life, we're grateful for it.
Well, thanks to all of you, our amazing listeners, for tuning in today. So if you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Stay inspired, keep trusting in God's plan for your life, and we'll see you next time.